Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. In this video, I'm going to show you a very common oil leak on the E46 M3 or any other car that has the S54 engine. So this oil leak is very commonly misdiagnosed as a rear main seal or even an oil pan gasket leak or even a valve cover gasket leak if you're looking at it from the bottom. I'm talking about the CPV or the constant pressure valve, oil relief valve, whatever you want to call it. So there's an O-ring that's on this valve that tends to just give out over time as any other O-ring, and there are a lot of replacements out there. The one that you want to get is the one that's made out of Viton. All you need is the O-ring. The size of the O-ring is 14.5 by 1.5. So that's the O-ring that you're going to need. Make sure you get the one that's made out of Viton. That way you never have to do this again. The tools that you'll really need, you just got to get like a socket set. You're going to have to pull off all the lower covers off of the bottom of the car, because that's the only way to get to it. You do want to have the car very cool when you're doing this, because the headers and everything are right next to that relief valve. So let me go and show you where it's located and how you're supposed to remove it. I already removed the reinforcement plate as well as the plastic cover in the front, so we have access to this whole area. You can see there's a little bit of oil leaking from right here, and it actually looks like it's towards the back of the motor, where it could be the rear main seal or it could be the oil pan gasket. But before you jump to any conclusions, you really want to check out that CPV O-ring, which is all the way up on top of the block. It's going to be hard to see. Let me go ahead and get a light, that way I can show you guys exactly where it's at. Alright, so it's hard to get the camera into the exact location of that relief valve so you can pull it off. But here's just a general idea of where it's at. So here are the headers, the catalytic converters, and here's the oil pan. So you want to go all the way to the back where you meet the bell housing of the transmission. Go all the way to the top. It's like halfway, it's closer to the transmission side. It's on the side of the block, halfway up. So we'll try to post a picture if we can find one of one with the the actual engine out of the car. But it's all the way up there. It's a single groove into that valve, so you have to use like a flathead socket kind of thing in order to get it off. This is just a generic one that you would hook up to a drill. You want something that's a little bit thicker, because the passage is actually really wide. So you don't want anything that's a narrow flathead, just because you're not going to have enough space, or it might strip the actual bolt itself. So you want something wide and long for the flathead, and then I've got it hooked up to like a 1/4 inch socket because that's what it fits into, and I've got an extension and a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, and that's just so there's enough space. So you can see where I'm putting my wrench through. That way you can see where I'm trying to get it out from. That way that should help you position yours. Alright, once you have it loosened, I went closest to the passenger frame rail, went through the opening above the headers and above the cats, just so you can get to it. And initially it might be really tight, but once you get it loosened, that O-ring is probably really degraded by now. So once it's loosened, that initial turn, then you can just thread it out with your hand and just the socket. Alright, so here's the valve. As you can see, here's a flat surface I was talking about. So you want a flat head like this to sit in there. This one, it still has a little bit of wiggle room, which is okay, but you can see how if you don't have it in perfectly, you're gonna start stripping the corners. But it's still deep enough for you to get a good socket in there. And then this is the O-ring that we're gonna be replacing right here. So let's try to pull this O-ring out. Easiest way to do it is just put a cut. This O-ring is really hard. There we go. Once you've got a section cut through it, then you just pull it right off. You can see how hard it is just breaking. And there we have it. Alright, so these O-rings, if you want to buy them online, I know a lot of people sell them for about $4 to $5. Or what you could do is, if you have a McMaster car near you, so this is what it looks like, McMaster car, or any other place that sells O-rings and other kinds of supplies, you can get the Viton O-rings. The size is 14.5 with a 1.5 cross section. So the 14.5 is the inner diameter. The outer diameter, I believe, is like 16.5 or 17.5. And you don't have to drain the oil or anything to do this. You might have a little bit of oil seep out from where this valve was. Just clean that up before you put the valve back in. But yeah, make sure you use a Viton O-ring, that way you don't have to replace this again. You can't buy the O-ring separately at the dealer or anything like that. They only sell it as the whole valve. And the valve, I believe, is like 50 or 60 bucks. But yeah, there's no point of replacing it with the factory valve with a factory O-ring, because that O-ring is going to give out eventually again anyways. So yeah, like I said, Viton is the way to go. Make sure you clean up all the threads, clean up the area on the block where this sits in before you put it back in. So that's it for this video. I know it was short and quick, but yeah, the whole thing was just for that O-ring. Once again, I can't stress this enough. Make sure you use a Viton O-ring, that way you don't have to do this again. Obviously, if you have like catless headers or anything, this is a lot easier. But if you have the original headers, just keep looking. You might need a light, flashlight or something, and try to get some kind of extension. And make sure you use a flat head that is pretty thick. That way it can fit in that cavity without really messing up the entire head of it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay tuned for all my other videos. Go check out everything else. Go look at the vlog channel. Go look at BMW Selena's channel. She just started her E30 build, so make sure you go check that out as well. Thanks for watching.